We've got a lot of disc golf courses here in the Tampa Bay area. I reviewed them all in my Exploring Tampa, Florida and Beyond podcast. That was episode 15. And in that podcast, I talked about the 3 worst and the 4 best courses in the area. But after putting that out, I got to thinking that the 3 worst might just be some of the worst ever. I mean, they're bad enough that they deserve a video showing just how bad they are. So here we go. Number 3 on that list of worst disc golf courses was Sheffield Park in Oldsmar, which I call Swamp Park as far as the course is concerned. It's actually a nice little park, but the fringes of the park in which the disc golf portion is located is a terrible place to play disc golf. It starts right off at your very first hole. You're throwing and the basket is far away and kind of on the edge of this swamp area to your left. Since discs have a tendency to want to hook to the left a little bit, you think, well, I'm going to throw it to the right from there. And so you chuck your disc, and what you can't see from the very starting area is there is this huge canal dug right through the middle of the fairway that's perpendicular that tees into that swamp area. And there's a real good chance with the distance of this thing that you're going to chuck your disc right into it. I guess it's there for drainage or something because the whole area can be really, really bad around there. But at the whole beginning of this course, there are just a ton of areas like that where you are throwing around this swampy area and you've got your pad and the swamp is just to your left and there's trees just to your right and you have this narrow little corridor you can throw in, and if you throw your disc too much to the left, it's going in the swamp. Done. If you throw it to the right, you're digging through the trees. So it starts right off the bat in this miserable situation. And then, as if you think that couldn't get any worse, it cuts right away from the swamp and into the total brambly bushes. And I'm talking really narrow, really bushy areas. When I was back here filming video of this area for this podcast, I was actually eaten alive by mosquitoes there. I kept having to stop the camera to smack mosquitoes off me or something like that. So you start right through the swamp. Then you go into the brambly bushes, and then it comes out on the other side, and there's a trail that runs for miles and miles through Sheffield Park called the Oldsmar Trail. Nice trail to walk on. However, terrible trail to play disc golf on because you have your pad and you're looking at it, and you've got the trail 6 inches to your left, and you've got this huge canal 4 feet to your right. Where's the bucket? Way down there straight ahead of you, and there's 2 holes just like that. And if you throw your disc 5 degrees to the right, it's ending up into the water. And then it goes into a little area in the middle that's got some decent holes. Then it goes back into some brambly areas. And when it winds around the end, same thing again. You're dealing right with that whole swampy canal area on one side, trees on the other side. At the time I shot this video, it was actually kind of like a drought here, but there's a drainage ditch towards the end that's often full of water. And then you're back into the bushes with the mosquitoes again. This course is a pain in the ass all the way up through the final hole at hole 18. And you come up to hole 18 and it's the same thing. There's a swamp this time ahead of you and to the left, but trees all to the right of you stop you from being able to really hook it noticeably to the right. The trail there that people walk on is also there. And when I walked up on this course one time, the first time I played it, actually, there was a guy standing in the middle of the water. He's about thigh deep with this waterproof suit and waders on and stuff like that. And I looked at him and I said, what you're doing right now is exactly why I'm not going to throw on this hole. And he looked at me and he said, what I'm doing right now is exactly why you should throw on this hole. And we got to talking. His name was Kevin. He's a guy that works for the park there. And every once in a while, he jumps in the water around this park and throws discs out. And if you have your phone number on the disc, he'll call you and you can come get your disc. But he threw out, I'd say 20 discs that he had that were out and that he was throwing out while I was talking to him. I said, you see many gators around here in this swamp? He goes, well, there's one that lives on the other side. He's a pretty big one, but he doesn't come around this way all that often. I'm like, screw that. So for those reasons, Sheffield Park is number 3 on my list of worst disc golf courses. Moving on to number 2 is Maximus Park in the city of St. Petersburg. Maximus Park as a park is a beautiful park. It sits at the very bottom of the peninsula in Pinellas County, right at the mouth to Tampa Bay, right where the Sunshine Skyway Bridge takes off and goes over the bay. And there are palm trees all around there. They've got a beach there. It's not a great beach, but it's a nice beach. And people are jet skiing in the water out there. People are boating all around. There's a marina around the corner from here. And it is a beautiful park, but it is a suck disc golf course. Maximus Park very easily could have been number 1 as the worst disc golf course. However, some of these holes are so downright bad that I actually had to think there's a certain amount of a joke involved in setting up Maximus Park. And so it actually got stupid points for being so ridiculous that it bumped it from number 1 up to number 2. You start off on the first hole and it looks normal. You throw and it's like a fairway and everything's good to go. Then you come up on the second hole and it looks like you're still in a normal area. You got your fairway and it's down this area and you throw. Except you come upon this whole pile of, I'm going to call them brambly bushes. They're not cactus, but they're like these like spiky little short palms that are like 5 and 6 feet off the ground, just thick, covered everywhere. And so you throw your disc up there and you go, well, where the hell's the bucket at? And you turn and you look to your right and there's across this major road that all the cars come into to go to the picnic area. There's a pin. I'm going to call it a bucket. Sometimes people call them pins. I call them buckets. Right on the other side of the road. Nope, that's not ours. That's for number 4. Well, where's the bucket? There's this brambly pile of bush right ahead of me. It can't be in the middle of that. And guess what? That's exactly where this hole is. Like in the middle of the hugest pile of brambly bush weeds ever is your basket. Just begging you right off the bat, hole number 2 for you to lose your disc. But that's a one-off, right? This park can't have many more holes like that. Guess what? Yes, they can. There are holes even more ridiculous than this. Hole 2 gives at least you a fairway to throw into before it tricks you with the brambly bush. There are other holes where you throw literally straight into this huge pile of brambly bush. And even walking to try to find the bucket in this is ridiculous because all you're doing is walking through really heavy foliage and then right in the middle of all of that is a basket. Like I said, it's almost like a joke. When you go from hole 2 onto hole 3 just makes you shake your head because there's the pad that you throw off and then straight ahead of you there's like a telephone pole, trees, bushes, palm trees, and then the road. Again, the main park road comes right near this pad. And your throwing area, the only area you can throw to straight is right down the middle of the road. If you read the sign right next to the pad, it says, the road is out of bounds. If you somehow are able to throw your disc through all these brambly bushes and everything, way down and around in a way that's almost impossible to get a disc to go is a field area. And you get to that field and you go, well, where the hell is the basket here? And you look to your right. Is that a basket? No, that's a basket for hole number 1. Well, is this a dual pin course? Are they both sharing that basket? No. And you look ahead of you, well, there's a pole for a basket, but there's no basket there. Where's the basket? Guess where the basket is? It is a little bit west of that open field, behind a palm tree, 9 feet up in the air on top of a stump. It's the most ridiculous thing ever. Literally right next to and smashed into a palm tree. If you are lucky enough or unlucky enough to throw your disc and make it into this basket, from the ground to the top of the basket where your disc is going to hit the chains and fall into is 7 feet. So putting my hand straight up in the air, that came right up to my wrist, but you have to keep in mind that your disc falls into that basket. So you need to have a bendable appendage somewhere where you can reach down and into that basket. Your best bet is to bring a stick to knock your disc out once you get it in there. And there are holes like that all over this park. It starts off with those brambly bushes, and then it goes through kind of a really tree-packed, dense area that you just look at where you're throwing and you're like, this is ridiculous. This is absolutely stupid. And again, when I shot these photos, we'd had what Florida would consider a drought. Normally this area that it goes into is very, very wet. There's a lot of swampy, wet areas. There's a lot of areas back here too where there's a fence that's the border to the park, where if you make your throw a little wrong, it's going to go over the fence. Some of the holes are right along upside the road. And I got to talking to a couple of people that were throwing back there, and I said, how many discs do you lose when you play here? He says, I've played for a while. He goes, so I don't lose too many anymore, which is completely the opposite of what most people will tell you about this park. He goes, I just don't throw the disc very far. And as he's telling me this, the girl with him throws a disc about 15 feet into a tree, and it hits the ground right below the tree. So if you're willing to throw your disc 15, 20 feet at a time and chase it and score 16 on a hole, I guess that's fine. But if you're trying to chuck your disc for distance and get the best scores you can, good luck. Good luck at this park. You are keeping the local disc golf store in business. I found one hole in this park. I didn't know where the pad went, so I had to look at the map, and apparently this whole thing fires right off across the road. So Maximus Park is so stupid that it gets points for how stupid it is. And some people like it for how stupid it is. But if you play there, you're going to spend more time looking for your discs than you are playing, and you're going to lose discs. Number one worst disc golf course has to go to Hammock Park in Dunedin. And I will say that Hammock Park, like Maximus Park, is a beautiful park. If you're not playing disc golf there, it's a nice park. The southern end has a lot of grass and little picnic areas that are covered that you can eat in. It's got a little walking trail around it. And the northern area has some really nice hiking trails that make you feel like you're totally off in the bush. And I got to give these cities credit because they are putting these courses out there and they are free to play. But if you're going to put something out there that's absolutely ridiculous, we get to call it what it is, right? And Hammock Park is one of those parks that they probably should not have tried to put a disc golf course here. They have a 9-hole disc golf course, and there's really no room for a disc golf course. It's absolutely ridiculous. The very, very first hole starts off from a pad, and the only clear area you have trees all around you is straight down the hiking path, the path that people ride their bikes on, the path that people walk on. And not only that, but you have to throw straight down this path, and the bucket is off to your right down this path in a very, very small clearing and right next to a blind corner. So you're throwing your disc down a hiking path into a blind corner, and if somebody else is coming the other way, there's a good chance your disc is going straight upside their head. Hammock Park also has a lot of very, very short, like ridiculously short holes. And the second hole in Hammock Park is just as ridiculous as the first one, and it throws right along that walking path as well. So you have this pad, and right in front of the pad is just a huge pile of trees and palm trees, and you're like, what in the world is this all about? There's a little opening that you throw blindly across that path again to a spot where there's a very short basket, but it's, again, just pile of bushes. The third hole is the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen, because you stand at the pad, and if you look off in the distance, you can see the bucket. It's not too far, but again, it's trees, bushes, foliage everywhere. And then when you get closer to the basket, you realize that where you are throwing this hole is right in the middle. It's like they've got this amphitheater set up out there where people are going to hold meetings or Sunday service or whatever like that. And the basket is like right in the middle of all the pews. So if you throw your disc, you could literally launch your disc out here. And the way they have it set up, not even see people sitting on the pews until your disc pops somebody in the head. So again, ridiculous layout. And this whole course is just like that. The very last hole, hole number 9, might take the award for the most ridiculous disc golf hole I've ever seen in my life, because it starts at this pad, and the only place you can throw your disc, the fairway, consists of the parking lot. You have to throw right down the parking lot where everybody parks their cars. And so basically nobody wants to park their car here because nobody wants to get discs bouncing off their cars. And nobody wants to throw a disc here because if you care, you don't want to bounce your disc off somebody else's car. And this hole goes straight down through the parking lot. That is the fairway. And then it makes a right past this little like substation with fence all around it. Again, down the road where people are driving in and out of, to this ridiculous little basket spot right behind a tree. When I was taking photographs here, they'd cleaned out a lot of the foliage because it looks like they just cleaned one of the area canals to clear drainage with the summer months and the heavy rains coming up through this area. But this area is often, and it will be in another couple months, very, very overgrown, and it's just absolutely ridiculous. So again, thanks to the cities for putting the courses out there, but I'm going to have some fun and call you out for absolute ridiculousness. Those are the 3 worst disc golf courses, not only just in the Tampa Bay area, but that I've ever seen in my entire life. And I hope you got a kick out of looking at them. It's definitely a lot funner to watch the video of them than it is to actually play them and hunt for your discs and see how much money you've lost at the end of the day. Have a good one.